Welcome to GothCast. This episode, what is this episode?
It's a two-parter. It's
well, you know who I am?
Two-parter. Well, yeah, you're Dr.
Sanders, yes.
Yeah.
And who are you?
I'm Cameron.
Cameron's
I don't
back.
have a nickname.
This is a mess. Anyway, welcome to GothCast. I'm Dr. Sanders. This is Cameron with me again for the second time, making his return of Cameron.
Yeah.
Maybe one day we'll give you like a nickname for the podcast. We'll think about it. Probably be like Crypt Run or Cameron the Crypt Keeper or something.
Let the listeners decide.
Yeah, it'll be something like that. People come up with cool stuff. Yeah. But this time, we're covering Misfits Part 2.
Part 2.
Michale Graves era.
Yeah.
So this is a really weird, it's going to turn into a kind of weird episode, I think. In some ways, which we were expecting. Either way, I've been trying to be better about when covering like Part 1, Part 2s quicker anyway, because I think there's still like only one Depeche Mode episode, and it's been like 3 years or something.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we're doing Part 2 right now of this, especially when it's fresh in our minds.
Yeah.
This, of course, if you want to hear my explanation on the Misfits in relation to Goth and all that stuff, listen to Part 1. Went over all that.
I would say just listen to Part 1 anyways. It'll probably help bridge the gap
Of course. Yeah. Especially since I'm not going to be covering some of the lead up to this, because I already did.
Let's just say something once, why say it again?
Exactly. So Michale Graves era of the Misfits, we're covering the next 4 albums. Again, just like the first episode, it's kind of weird the way we're having to do the releases, because it's not just 4 studio albums, because there wasn't 4 studio albums with Michale Graves as singer. We're going to be covering American Psycho, Evilive II, Famous Monsters, and Cuts from the Crypt. And these all span from 97 to 2001.
They're kind of all wildly different. Similar to kind of Danzig and just Misfits. I mean, it's kind of in their name, Misfits.
Yeah.
It's Misfits of albums, really.
And just like with the Misfits,
Yeah.
just like with Danzig era Misfits, we're going to see a transformation in the band and them honing certain things and getting rid of certain things and kind of figuring it out. Just a little bit of a recap. Basically, what we covered in the last episode is what most people consider the classic era of the Misfits, which is Danzig, Glenn Danzig,
Static Age, Evilive, Walk Among Us, and Earth AD Wolf's Blood is what we covered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a whole great, that's what people consider super classic. Oh man, this is super awesome punk, horror punk, all stuff. And especially years ago, this era was really just thought of as like, ugh, like, can't believe you like this era of it. But I think because it's been like over 20 years, people now are saying, what are you talking about? Like, Graves era is awesome because...
No, there's great tunes in it.
It's like that thing I always tell you. Something's out long enough, it becomes a classic, right?
Yeah.
Even if it had bad songs, but there's a lot of really good material on these albums.
So many good songs on this. I mean, I gotta say, like, the Famous Monsters album was one of my favorite albums in high school, for sure. A lot of great songs off of that one.
Super good. So, Danzig left the band. There was a lawsuit. Jerry Only and Doyle got the rights to the name. Before they had formed a band, I talked about this a little bit, called Chris the Conqueror. And they got this drummer named Dr. Chud.
Dr. Chud.
David Calabrese.
Calabrese?
I think that's how you say it.
I like that.
But Dr. Chud. That's what we call him this album. For all these releases, we call him Dr. Chud. CHUD.
Yes.
And then, because they got the rights to the name, and they're going to be performing under the name of Misfits, like, well, we need to get a new singer because... and apparently, Jerry Only actually did ask Danzig, like, even after all this lawsuit was over, he was trying to think of the fans, he's like, okay, I'll still ask him, even after all his crap went down, Danzig, do you want to sing for the Misfits? He's like, no.
Yeah. I got my own things.
Yeah. I
gotta go work out or something like that. I'm busy.
Sorry, I just have all this platinum hit with Mother. I think I'm good.
I think I'm good.
Instead I've had Rick Rubin produce all of these albums and stuff. So with the lineup of Doyle, who I think this is when he started to actually go by Doyle Wolfgang von Frankenstein, was around this time, like that full name of that. With Doyle, Jerry Only, Dr. Chud, they had done this stuff for Chris Conqueror, and they kind of actually, some of it went directly into the Michale Graves stuff, but they were trying to find a singer, right? Super important. So they just held open auditions, whatever. They did ask Dave Vanian of The Damned
oh, really?
to sing for them.
That would have been so cool.
Which is a claim that Dave Vanian denies.
Oh, really?
But it's Dave Vanian, so he's always really... You can't really trust anything he says in interviews. He's always just like, oh, no, that didn't happen. Oh, no, that
didn't you say that they played with The Damned?
That was the problem. Yeah, so they had like the thing where The Damned had come over to America, and then they played with them, and then Danzig's like, oh, well, hey, we should come over there. And Dave Vanian's like, oh, okay. And then when he came over, he's like, "Oh, you guys actually showed up."
Showed up, yeah.
And so there's like a little bit of bad blood between him and Danzig.
It's funny that they reached out to him to be the singer, though.
Yeah. Well, there's a funny photo like after all that where Danzig, there's like, I think Jerry Only's holding up a Damned record.
Yeah.
This is like, when they were still all like in that lineup, the original Misfits. And Danzig's giving the middle finger to the Damned record because I think it was all that stuff went down.
That's great.
But Jerry Only says that he did, in fact, reach out to Dave Vanian and he didn't get a response. And Dave Vanian says he was never asked. So, who knows? But at this time, that actually would have been a really good time for him to start doing that because Vanian was playing with the Phantom Chords and Dan was in a really weird spot at the time. Like I said, I mean, it's come
should have
from
taken him up on the offer.
Come from a Dan fan. I mean, I would love to see that.
Yeah.
Dan is still amazing, but I'm just saying it would have been cool. So they found this 19-year-old kid, I guess.
Yep.
I mean, that's what they call him. But I mean, compared to the age gap, with them at the time, Michael Emanuel basically had recorded this demo to get his music career going, and the guy who was running the studio had been doing stuff for Jerry Only and said, "Hey, I got this guy who I think could be your singer." This is Michale Graves. Okay, so Michael Emanuel became Michael Graves. So I'm just going to say Graves. So Graves was unfamiliar with the band, had no idea what it was, so he bought Collection 1, learned all the songs.
Solid.
Showed up, and they apparently just auditioned him. And I think they were nervous because he was so young, especially since they were really business-minded at this time. They're like, we got to make sure that this is going to work out because we don't know if we'll get another shot at this. And that's actually one of the reasons Only said that he chose him is because he was like, he wasn't familiar with us. And told him to just not do the Danzig thing and all that.
Yeah, be your own thing, which, I mean, for that, he did a pretty good job of.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So I believe this was late 94, early 95 is when they really weren't sure. They really weren't giving him the job. And then I thought this was a cool piece of trivia. I had no idea about this until I started doing research for this. So actually, it was like one of the managers, a guy who promotes like all the shows and like the hardcore scene in New York, was telling him like, you guys should reunite for like the Halloween show for 1994. And Typo Negative was playing. My favorite band of all time was playing. And they were like, you should have like Peter Steele sing. Like you should actually come on as like a treat. And then like, oh, you guys reunite. And then Peter Steele sings. They were working with Graves already. So they're like, oh, well, hey, can you go help Peter like learn the rhythm of the songs? And so Michael Graves went, sat down with Peter Steele and was trying to like go over the songs with him, whatever. And eventually Peter was like, I'm not doing this. I don't want to sing these songs. Like, and so they told Only and all of them said, this is your singer. You got to hire this guy. He's got it.
Yeah.
So here's a quote from Graves saying, so walking out on that stage with Typo Negative through Peter sticking up for me and ushering me into that world, he was this huge dark angel. It was amazing. I remember smelling the smoke and hearing the crowd and just saying inside, just remember the words and keep calm, man. That's basically what led to that. So then they had all this material, started working on it. American Psycho. Let's get into it. 1997. So this is essentially 2 years of being in the band. A little bit over that, I think. And I think it was 22 when it was released.
Yeah.
And so this is a major release for them.
Yeah.
Super awesome. Let's get into it. 97's classic. Would you call it the most classic record of all time ever released in history? No. Yeah. Okay. So, going to American Psycho, we have we had the beginning of the soundscape intros, right? Or some of that.
Yeah, a lot of them, and a lot throughout Graves' era just have really short but slow, drony intros. Just these long guitar strikes and big reverby drums. And then you'll hear the drumsticks click and all hell breaks loose.
Exactly. That's exactly how I would describe this. Abominable Dr. Phibes, the opener.
Yeah.
Super awesome. But yes, it is that. It's just like this droning down.
Yeah.
But it's awesome. And of course, we already see here the love of horror movies yet again. I feel
my God.
I feel like this version of the band goes even harder.
I agree. The references are crazy.
Yeah, like every song on this and Famous Monsters just seem to just be plots of movies.
Yeah.
But Abominable Dr. Phibes literally is the movie Abominable Dr. Phibes. Literally right there, Dr. Phibes on the wall. If you ever watch GothCast, right there on the wall between David Bowie and Oz is Dr. Phibes. One of my favorite Vincent Price movies of all time. By the way, Vincent Price yet again showing up again just like with the Danzig era. Great, but yeah, the lyrics are literally just the plot of the movie.
Yep.
Again.
Yeah. And then, of course, we go into American Psycho, and the woes. The woes are back.
That's exactly what I wrote right here.
Every time it says "woe" in this album, I wrote it down.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we do have that coming back, and this is another thing that led to the cliche of Misfits music just being whoa. But yeah, this song, all the Grave stuff goes hard on that melody, just with the woes.
Yeah, and then transitions into this super thrashy B part. It reminds me a lot when Robo was playing for the Misfits during the Danzig era. It's a lot of that kind of style creeping into this.
Just that,
just blast beats for days.
Yeah. But yeah, this is also where you see like Doyle's guitar tone. Like we saw it on Earth AD, but here's really where
it was defined.
Yeah, like super. It's like really refined down to that like thing that he just does today.
Yeah.
And he did it in Earth AD, but here's like where you see the palm muting, the slides, the in between chords.
The pick scratches too.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, pick scratches.
Yeah. And this is like Doyle's tone is just totally that super unique. It's a really heavy kind of tone that is so just, you think of it exactly when you think of the Misfits.
It's bassy, but it somehow manages to cut through every mix.
Absolutely.
It is right there in your face, and no matter how it's cued. So
yeah, this also had a music video too for American Psycho. It was by the way, I don't think I've ever seen it in any kind of good quality.
No.
But it's
I don't know if I watched this one, the American Psycho music video.
It's really basic, but we'll talk about it. Okay. Yeah, this had music videos, so we'll talk about some of that because it's an important part of this.
Yeah.
Anyway, speak of the devil, I just catchy as hell choruses.
Yeah.
I think this is cool. It actually is one of the few Misfits songs I could think of that has like a guitar harmony solo type thing at the end of it, which I was like, oh, that's really unusual.
Kind of cool. Yeah.
It wasn't just straight up chords or...
I felt like the formatting kind of mirrored American Psycho a bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was what I wrote down was a watered down American Psycho.
Yeah.
Not in a bad way, but just like it kind of had the same structure to it. So
yeah, well, this album definitely has the formula in a lot of the songs where it has some kind of riff or little intro thing, very hard hitting verses, and then all of a sudden just a really big catchy chorus.
Yeah.
And that's definitely the American Psycho formula. We see it less on Famous Monsters, but that's the whole
we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. But for this one, you really hear it, and almost if you're not into the heavy stuff of it, it almost will turn you off because you're like, that song sounds like it's gonna be too heavy. But then it gets into like a part of it's just like
it's just a super
and then
poppy.
I heard her, it's super catchy and a formula here. But Walk Among Us.
Yes.
Whoa.
Not the album.
Yeah, right. And I thought that was so weird.
I don't remember them referencing the album at all in the song.
No, I think it's supposed to be about there's a movie, right?
Sure. Of course, it's the Misfits. Of course, it's a movie.
Yeah. I forget what the original movie is, but then they have the Creature Walks Among Us. That's right.
Oh, okay.
The Creature from the Black Lagoon. I said that last episode. Yeah. It may seem like we just recorded these episodes one after the other, but it has been several days since then. But yeah, Walk Among Us. I thought that was so funny. They had a song called Walk Among Us. I wonder if that was... I'm sure that was intentional.
Yeah. Another kind of catchy pop-like quality to the vocals.
That wasn't one of my favorite songs on the album. Yeah. Also, The Hunger, I get it. A lot of people really love this song.
Yeah.
I was also trying to figure out what the heck the movie is for this one. I'm assuming it's the movie The Hunger, the David Bowie film, which, by the way, is up on the wall as well, underneath Frankenstein right there.
You got the whole Misfits references just stapled on your wall.
I seem to have that. But yeah, obviously there's a vampire movie from 1984. I think it's directed by Tony Scott. David Bowie, vampire, Susan Sarandon, Catherine Deneuve. And like this talks about blood and stuff, but I don't think it really mentions vampires. It doesn't seem to really be the plot of the movie.
I don't know.
But
I will say this one introduced like really cool vocal effects like echoes and delays and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I didn't hear much from the Danzig era, and it was like, I don't know, it was cool that we're getting a little bit more creative and playful with the vocal effects.
Yeah,
I liked it.
Definitely do on these releases.
Yeah.
From Hell They Came. The opening riff, like the really quick intro, sounds like Green Day's Basket Case.
Yes. Yes. We were just going over this.
Yeah, when you walked in, I was like, what does this sound like? And you're like, that sounds like that part in Basket
Case. Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
I will say this song also, it almost sounds like it could be off of Static Age. There's a lot of ride lot of ride cymbal in
Yes,
this song.
that's correct.
And I think if you lowered the quality and the sharpness a bit, you'd be like, huh, Static Age, nice.
Again, we're seeing the thing starting with heavy riffs,
Yeah.
going into super catchy choruses.
The Misfits formula.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is definitely over. Of course, just like you said, overdub vocals.
Yeah.
The thing about Graves' voice, Grave and only talked about how they got vocal lessons for these releases.
Interesting.
And like they really tried to be pro level musicians.
Yeah.
To be like, oh, we want to get signed.
I gotta say, their voices fit together really well.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's one album in particular or one song that speaks out that I'll reference, but just in general, their voices match so well.
Yeah. And that's one of the things too, is it's very hard to notice a lot of the super overdub vocals, or like, and especially in the courses, it's because they do link up so well, and like the production is really great on this album. So it's very hard to hear like, oh, it's just layered to, oh hell, even when Graves overdubs himself, and like you barely notice it because they just sync up. Like he just nails it both times. Mine don't, and that's why it's kind of weird whenever I do it. But anyway, we got
Dig Up Her Bones.
Classic.
Come on.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone and their mother knows this song.
Yeah. So even for years, whenever you would search, especially in the age of the internet, when you would first search the Misfits, the first thing that would come up was Dig Up Her Bones.
Especially the music video for it, too.
Yeah, because when YouTube was like in its infancy and the internet was in its infancy, you know, I mean, there was some bootlegs and stuff out there, but it wasn't like today where you just search, you're like, I want to hear this one song live, you know, and you could search any song from any band ever.
Yeah.
It was like you would search a band and whatever would come up, it would only be like a few results. And Dig Up Her Bones was like the one for the Misfits. Of course, this was filmed in Vernon, New Jersey. Apparently,
back to New Jersey, back home.
Yeah, apparently there's a lot of information about singles, of course.
Yeah.
So I thought it'd be interesting to throw some trivia for it. Apparently the cops were actually called, so it's actually filmed in like somebody's backyard, like one of their managers or some backyard.
Oh, funny.
And they had all the lights, you know, like in the fake gravestones and everything.
Yeah, the green light and all that fun stuff.
And apparently the cops were actually called because they thought like something was happening in the field that was like extraterrestrial or something.
No, they didn't.
Yeah,
really?
Graves is like, yeah, they thought something was like going on weird over in this field, and they're like,
what?
They show up and it's just them filming a Misfits music video.
I mean, that's kind of an anomaly in itself.
Yeah,
the
right.
Misfits.
I know, you're like,
I will say in the music video, I love Michael Graves' T-Rex arms. He always dances like he dances like a T-Rex.
Yep.
A lot of the times.
Yeah, he keeps the arms close to him. He just waves them.
He's holding some sort of bug or something like that. He's
just ripping up the grass or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, apparently it was just crazy because it's like, first officially released music video. Like I said, Brain Eaters had one, but it wasn't ever officially released.
No. And they're such a visual, like you mentioned in the last episode, they're such a visually stunning band. It's such a bummer that we didn't get more music videos. It's like a music video for every song on this album.
I know.
And
I mean, this is the thing, is you could have just filmed the Misfits live, like with a camcorder, every single show, and you would have had a different music video because it's such a crazy visual band. But I get it. People say music videos are expensive. Back then, yes, more so to edit stuff and like whatever. And people say today, people give me that all the time, like, oh, well, I can't do this because that's so expensive to do it. I'm like, everyone has like an iPhone and everyone can edit stuff, and there's computers now.
Yep.
Like, it's not that expensive to make anything. Anyway, that's a whole different thing. But for this single of this, of course, the cover is just Bride of Frankenstein, just like the profile in blue. There was 5,000 of these released on blue vinyl singles.
Cool.
And this is what I thought was really cool. They officially licensed the likenesses of Boris Karloff and
really?
Elsa Lancaster. I think that's how you say it.
Because that copyright,
it still exists.
It still exists, but only for a couple more years, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
it's about to.
If they lapse, we'll see if they lapse. We'll see if they find some way to still keep them. But yeah, because it's Bride of Frankenstein, people think, oh, it's public domain, or it's not. So the footage that they use in the music video, they actually did officially license, and they got it from I think it was Boris Karloff's daughter.
Really?
And then the estate of Elsa. So I thought that was a cool piece of trivia. Cool. Of course, super famous song. This also, one thing I did notice about this album, and then I think it really shows up on this song, is using, I wouldn't say compression, but like the album does distort.
Yeah.
And no matter, like, I've ripped this straight from the disc in like the highest quality I possibly could,
Yeah.
and the album still like distorts.
Yeah. One note I had is that I don't know. I felt like the guitar and the bass kind of mash together a lot. They get really muddy. You can hear Jerry Only's bass, but it's almost overpowered by Doyle's tone. It doesn't seem as defined, at least unlike something like Earth AD, where you could still distinguish the two. I felt like this one, and maybe it's because of that distortion, but that just kind of low end that they're both reaching in because Doyle has his guitar tuned down so friggin' low. I couldn't hear Only's bass, and I was a little disappointed.
Well, to me too, it also seems like he went for, because I think if you're familiar with the Misfits, you know that Only's bass tone now is almost a mess. It's just completely just like complete garbage as far as distortion and all that stuff goes. It seemed like still at this time he was using like regular bass effects and stuff, but it does feel like it just blends in, whereas like you have a little bit more memorable bass lines back then that would pull through the mix. It seems like the high production value of all this stuff kind of made it well, we're a guitar and drums band, I mean,
I'll get into it when we get into it, but like even in Famous Monsters, I felt like the bass tone was still a little bit more defined than American Psycho.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
What else we got? Blacklight. Keyboards,
and catchy songs.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, this is one of the catchiest songs they've ever written.
Yes. But I thought it was interesting because they brought back, obviously, the Cough Cool singles and stuff. Like Danzig played keyboards to bring it back in some meaningful way. I mean, you also even have like tambourine, like on Walk Among Us, you'll hear like tambourine in the choruses. Yeah. So there's all this like really weird like little stuff that's added into this album. Blacklight, I think, is one of the more obvious examples of that.
Yeah.
It's an okay song.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites, honestly.
I like
it. It's super catchy.
Resurrection's
cool, man.
That drum intro.
Yeah.
Just super. By the way, it's like 2 seconds.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, there's a lot of really cool drum fills in this song that are literally like half a bar. It's super weird, but really cool. Very 50s inspired, the song, Resurrection.
Well, this also brings up like Dr. Chud as a drummer.
Yeah.
Friggin' awesome.
He's a great drummer.
Probably like the best drummer they ever had.
I mean, so good.
I know people obviously are like Robo.
Robo's good, yes.
But I think for the Misfits, I think Dr. Chud was
Chud's good, and he's got a really good balance between his entire kit as well. Static Age we talked about, it's all ride. It's nothing but ride, and Earth AD and even Walk Among Us are just nothing but crash.
Well, Walk Among Us with Googie was so good, and like that's really what Dr. Chud harkens back to is like doing tons of accent pieces,
right?
Small fills that just...
He's just got good balance over his kit, which I really appreciate.
And I think
as a drummer myself, I appreciate good balance over kit.
Yes.
Hey, there we go.
Yeah, right? That's what helps this album a lot. And we talked about before is that if you just took away that kind of the super accented pieces where it's like, dun, 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 where it really hits a cymbal every time they switch a riff for the first note, it just becomes too basic of a punk song, whereas the Misfits, like, they just really honed in on that, like, being able to utilize that so much.
Yeah.
And this just continues, I think, what Arthur Googie was doing with, a lot of the earlier Misfits stuff, but that's probably what they did. They probably looked at it and were like, how do we replicate that? And it's like, well, we got to play like that.
Yeah,
so,
totally.
But Dr. Chud just is a freaking beast.
He is.
So, tell he's just beating the crap out of those drums.
I know, I feel bad.
Exactly. The Silent Earth. The Silent Earth. We're just going over here.
I know.
Great harmonies. Great guitar.
Chugs. It chugs, man. The song chugs. And yeah,
this is one of my favorite actually off the album. Actually,
I love the Silent Earth.
Like, I just love the we're living on the Silent Earth. Silent Earth. Like, I just really, it's always been one of my favorites off this record, and it's just a great song.
I agreed.
And I feel like it pulls apart from some of the other ones. Like, we're talking about how a lot of these are repetitive.
Yeah.
I feel like this one pulled it just a little bit higher than some of the other ones for me.
Yeah,
I'm surprised it wasn't a single, honestly. I mean,
it sounds like a single.
To me, it does, but whatever. I'm not their manager. Yeah. So, the Crimson Ghost.
Crimson Ghost.
They're finally giving credit to the people
logo.
they ripped off. Yeah.
It's the logo,
It's
guys.
the logo, yes. We talked about that before. The logo came from a film called The Crimson, or serialized, whatever.
Yeah,
The Crimson Ghost.
It's a serial.
1946.
Yes.
So,
oh my gosh. Finally, bass tone. Bass. Yeah. I can hear the bass. I feel it. It's ripping. It's good. It's what I've been waiting for this entire album, is really to hear Jerry Only destroy my speakers.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Super heavy song too.
Oh my God. It's thrash. It is pure thrash.
I was gonna say, well, one of the things that people criticize a lot with this era is that like, oh, they move too much towards metal. I never hear it.
Yeah.
I really don't in a majority of songs, but then you hear this song, you're like, okay. I gotta give it to you on that one.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. But I think it's the palm muting and stuff for it, but like Misfits, really with these albums really honed in that thing that's unique to them. Where when we cover the Jerry Only stuff, like you'll see it when they take away the Doyle stuff. You're like, it's never mind. It's missing. Like, yes. But this is where really they hone in a thing that's not metal. It's not necessarily hardcore punk or like what a lot of people think of punk.
Yeah,
and this is like really where you hear that.
It's the Misfits.
Yeah, it's just the combination of those guys, but
I mean, super unrelated, but it's like trying to define Frank Zappa's sound. It's like it's Zappa, it's Misfits, it's whatever it is.
Yeah, it's just in between a whole bunch of stuff. People always say like, oh, it's geared more towards metal. I'm like, I don't know what metal you're listening to. Like, yes, there's some stuff that...
But it changes every song. It's going to be a completely different genre the next track. You never know what you're expecting when the next track starts. You're like, it could be an Elvis song. It could be a thrash metal song. Yep. It could be a love ballad. Who knows what it could be?
I think a lot of the guitar is what gives people the impression, because obviously Graves' vocals, like Grave and Only, it doesn't sound anything like metal. It doesn't sound anything like metal. It's like, I get it. It has palm muting. It has guitar slides. It's
got some blast beats.
It's distorted.
Yeah.
But people are just like, oh, it's just metal.
It's from this song.
It's
from this song.
Yeah, from this. Yeah.
It's from this song.
It's like
it's from Crimson Ghost.
These few songs that are actually like heavy metal influences. Like people are just like, oh, it's all metal. I'm like, what are you talking about?
I know.
I don't know. I don't get it. But I've seen that a lot of places. That's why I mentioned it.
Day of the Dead?
Day of the Dead. Great movie. Obviously, it's right over there. Super awesome movie.
Elvis. It's spooky Elvis.
Yeah,
that is this song.
Sounds like a punk zombie Elvis song.
Yeah, I just wrote Elvis but spooky.
Yeah, the hand claps.
Oh yeah,
like that's super funny.
I wrote in parentheses here, let's go to the hop, because that's what it reminded me of. Let's go to the hop.
Yeah, I could hear it.
Yeah,
but it's a great song, of course. But yeah, it's definitely sounds like an Elvis song that has so much distortion on it.
Yeah,
The Haunting.
Holy crap, Doyle's unstoppable in this song.
Yeah, great chord progression.
Oh my god.
It's just great.
It's so good.
It's like, this is definitely one of those things where you just like, dang, this song is free. I just thought it was great. I think it's one of my favorites on the album.
Agreed.
It's just awesome.
I think I was listening to it in my car on the way here.
Nice. That's awesome. Mars Attacks.
I wonder if that's based off a movie.
I know. Well, it's funny because the movie's based off of trading cards.
Yeah, trading cards from the 50s.
60s.
Was it 60s?
Yeah, 60s. And so...
It must have been early 60s then.
Yeah, it was like 62, I think.
Yeah.
And so then Tim Burton made the film 1 year before this album came out.
Oh, funny.
And so then it's... in the movies... I don't think the movie holds up that well. The CG in the movie is like...
Dude, that's one of my favorites.
It's like 1996 CG.
Yeah, I know one of the guys who was in the movie, actually.
Really?
Yeah, the guy who played the FBI agent, Brian Haley.
Oh.
So, if you're listening, hi, Brian.
Wow, there we go.
There we go.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's super cool. Yeah. Wow. That's awesome. Well, it's, again, kind of metal riff.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good song. I mean, it's not doesn't stand out that much.
No, not one of mine.
Hate the Living, Love the Dead. Super aggressive.
Yes, punk in your face. Yeah.
The Shining, or not The Shining.
Shining, which isn't actually based off The Shining.
It's based on Poltergeist.
Yeah. Another one of my all-time favorites. The chorus in this. You can't help but sing it. It's so good.
It was originally, I guess, going to be called Carol Ann, and then I guess they ran into some legal problems trying to clear it or whatever, and it looked like it was going to turn into a whole thing.
Oh, really?
So they just called it The Shining. They're like, a building possessed by a ghost.
Yeah.
Don't open till doomsday. Delicious.
So good.
So good. Love it. Absolutely awesome song. I love how it ends. There's also a bonus track at the end here, but I'm focusing on this song. But yeah, super awesome song. Great way to technically, I mean, other than the bonus track, which is just kind of another generic sort of sounding song.
Yeah.
But obviously, this is a great finale. Hopefully, we didn't. I mean, I know we kind of blasted through all the songs, but they kind of do that too.
Yeah.
A lot of songs on this album, and just a great way to get a start to a career again. Here's the thing: you got to remember this album really helped people redefine the Misfits. You know, people literally thought they were like nothing. And there was this whole thing about, because Green Day and Bad Religion and all these bands were starting to get big because of like Dookie and Smash from The Offspring. There was this whole thing to bring back these bands again. Like the Sex Pistols had come back right around the same time. There was basically a revival of punk in this time.
Yeah.
And the Misfits were like, oh, well, you know, they were trying to already do it anyway. But then it became like this whole thing where they didn't want to just be seen as, oh, they're just doing it for the cash or whatever. And that's why I think this album is like really produced. It's really honed in. It seemed like they got vocal lessons, tried to become professional musicians.
Yep. Those woes were sounding awesome.
Yep, exactly. And it was about tightening it up.
Yeah.
And I think it was really a genuine concern for them to be like, oh, can we actually make a career out of this again? You know, but that's a whole different discussion. But I think American Psycho, it does have its problems. I'll say it's repetitive at some points.
It is. At times, it almost, I don't know, at times some of the songs just kind of bleed together. Like, at least some of the ones that don't really stand out to me are just like, oh, wait, is it that song or this song or this song?
That's absolutely a huge problem with this album.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of songs you could almost interchange verses and choruses, and you wouldn't even know.
Yeah.
And so that's probably the biggest issue I have with this album. And we're going to see Famous Monsters really tighten that up, in my opinion. I do want to say that the cover here was done by Basil Gogos, who did the Famous Monsters of Filmland, you know, that magazine. Awesome magazine, of course, because they always talk about Vincent Price. But he did that cover art for this, and I believe the next album as well. But it gives it that super unique, cool look. They're really smart to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, this, while you could say that this was maybe a cash grab to be like, oh, we can get a career out of something that was famous, you know, because Chris the Conqueror didn't work out or whatever.
Still some good singles that came out of those. A lot of really good, catchy songs that I like. Again, the minute they start playing, you have to sing along to them.
Yeah, and I do feel that there was like, you know, you can feel when something's phoned in. I didn't feel like this was phoned in at all.
Yeah.
I feel like they were really trying to do something that they were proud of. I know that I've heard even Doyle has had some things to say about these albums, and we'll talk a little bit about that in the future. But like, as far as my opinion is, I think this is a great album. If you know what you're going into, it's going to be a little less gritty than some of the older Misfits, because, you know, hey, it's actually produced in like professionally, you know, super professionally. You know, they really worked on honing the craft of actually musicianship for a professional level. So it sounds like that. A lot of the elements that we still love about the old Misfits are here. You know, you have these strong melodies, you have a lot of the aggression. It's almost like throwing Walk Among Us and Earth AD into a blender and then throwing that into like an actual good studio, you know.
Yeah, like, I'd agree with that.
Yeah, so
it's a Misfits smoothie.
Exactly, yes. But yeah, whether Graves' voice or anything like that is to your liking is...
It's unique. It's different. It's unique. It does add something new to the table. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's, you know, not as strong as it could be.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the gamble that you take when you go into these albums.
And you hear a lot of this too. Like, he's able to. They were smart with the voice, right? With picking him, right? He can sing a lot of the dancing stuff. He's
got that nice bassy baritone voice.
Yeah. It's a little more throaty, a little more like, oh, you know, kind of like that. That sounds exactly like it. Yeah. Right? I like it. I think it works really well for this type of music. People are going to be harsh, and people are harsh on this anyway because it sounds unique. Yeah. And so it's really easy to poke fun at it.
I know. I tried not to be as harsh. I can even see in my notes I'm like leaving stuff out because I'm like, I'm being a little too mean to Graves over here.
It's because just like Danzig, he has a really unique voice that sounds out of context extremely goofy.
Yeah. Totally.
But that's kind of...
Their voices work very well for this project.
Yeah. Anyway, American Psycho, you can find it on a lot of streaming platforms as of this moment.
Everything, yeah.
Highly promoted record.
Check your nearest Hot Topic.
They still have music there?
I don't know, maybe.
Well, if they do, I feel like you could definitely find the shirt there.
Yes,
I mean, for sure,
yeah.
And you can stream on Spotify or something. Yeah. But yeah, that's American Psycho. Really gave the band some new life, and I wonder where they're going to go next. Let's find out. It is time for some random interesting goth stuff.
Riggs.
Yeah, it's Riggs.
It's Riggs.
Yeah.
Hey, all right, we made it.
It's crazy. Anyway. So, got some new music for you guys today. Ooh. Got some sad news for you too, but I wanted to start off by saying that Gary Newman's going to have a new album. I always mention Gary Newman. People just think of Gary Newman as Cars guy, right? Some people do. Here in my car. I'm safest of all. I think that's what it is. he's going to be releasing a new album called Intruder on May 21st. If you haven't heard any of his new stuff, it's almost like Nine Inch Nails-ish, sort of like atmospheric. It's really great. He said it's going to be a companion piece to his 2017 album Savage. We have it literally right over there, signed, which is awesome. Apparently it's going to look at climate change from the planet's point of view. That's what he said, which I think is cool.
It's kind of cool.
But all his new music is awesome, and I thought that'd be a great thing to lead in, is that we're going to have some new music by Gary Newman.
Yeah, I'll start off with something sweet, something sour for me. Sylvain from the New York Dolls has recently passed away, age 69. He was the second to last living member of New York Dolls. I think there's only one left now. So, Jesus. Bummer. Huge, big influence for any alternative music. They were some of the pioneers of anything like punk or goth or metal. I mean, they were there. They were the start. So,
man.
Yeah.
They're crazy. That's a bummer.
It is.
It sucks. Got some kind of surprising here. Yeah. I mean, we saw it last year, I guess, too. But we're seeing it here as well. Is new Danny Elfman music.
Danny Elfman! Sorry. It's called Sorry.
It's called Sorry.
His other song was Happy, and now this one is Sorry.
Yeah.
Both music videos were really disturbing.
I'm seeing a trend.
Yeah.
The titles are both words.
Whoa. Blowing my mind here, bud.
Connecting the dots.
Dang.
Connecting the dots.
You are one sharp cookie.
It's okay. Is that what this is?
Sure.
Sharp cookie? What? What? Is that what they say? See, I think
that's what I'm saying.
I think combine two sayings.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying you're a sharp
cookie. I'm a sharp cookie. Okay. But yeah, it's crazy. Man, you guys got to go watch this music video. It's insane. So it's like this crazy visual blob mess thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy. So go watch Danny Elfman, Sorry. Apparently, it's supposed to be the backdrop for a 2020 Coachella performance that never happened.
Yeah.
I wonder why.
I figure.
I don't know. It's probably a scheduling conflict.
Yeah.
So seriously, it's awesome. It's really creepy. It's unsettling.
Super
go
cool.
watch it.
And then the happy music video is just Danny Elfman with his face melting. It's kind of interesting and weird.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right, and in another little bit here, which I have mentioned before, I've mentioned comic books on here a few times. This is going to be weird. There's going to be a new Alien comic. And the reason I mention it is because it's very hard to read all of the Alien comics that have ever been released. But I guess Marvel got the rights to Alien vs. Predator. For comics, at least. I don't know.
Cool.
So you can actually read this new comic, I guess, coming out this year. Guess what it's called?
Hit me with it.
Alien.
Whoa! I would have never guessed.
Which is funny because now, we're mentioning this now, but I guarantee you in a few years, we're not going to be able to find this crap because it's going to blend in with every freaking comic book ever made called Alien.
Yep.
I'm shaking you can't see it on the mic. I'm shaking my head.
Yeah, no.
Because it's so...
The originality of this is just...
I hate how stupid they are with naming things nowadays. It's like Fast and Furious and The Fast, The Furious, or whatever it's called.
Too fast.
Too fast. Well, even that's different enough to where you could be like Aliens. You're like, oh, whatever. But if there's already a movie, there's already a comic, there's already a book, why'd you call it Alien?
I don't know.
You can't just call it Alien.
Are they doing it in all caps? Because I saw that's what the title looked like. It was in all caps.
Oh, there we go.
That might be it.
That's it.
Look for Alien all caps.
H.R. Giger. So good. I love Alien. Obviously, we've done an Alien episode before, but man, I don't understand why they name things like... I didn't mean for this to be a rant either. There's a new comic coming out.
Hey!
You know that?
Let's be happy. New comic.
Yes. More Alien stuff. Hopefully they don't make any more movies.
Yeah.
No, hopefully they do. But I don't want it to be like Covenant was. They tried, but...
I've tuned out from that, man. I haven't been keeping up to date with those movies.
Man. Very interesting. Anyway, that's our news. That was really random stuff.
Super random.
You know, that's why it's called Briggs.
Random, interesting goth stuff.
That's it. Back to music. You know, Cameron, I felt like that was way too produced.
Yeah.
I'm over it. I don't want to hear this anymore.
No.
You know what I want to hear? I want to hear something raw. I want to hear something... It just feels like some guys playing live or something.
Well...
Maybe sinisterly. Or
Evil Live.
Evil. Oh my.
Wait, we've already had Evil Live.
Oh, we've already did Evil
What about Evilive II?
Oh, the sequel.
The sequel.
Bigger, better. Is it?
Well.
Okay, so we're going to be covering Evilive II. So 1998, so 1 year later. Of course, the band with the release of the singles, the music videos, people realized, oh, the Misfits are back, right? And they started playing bigger and bigger shows, actually relatively quickly. You know, back then, releasing an album, promoting it was a really big thing. It could get you way bigger. Most of the Fiend Club coming back, which is like the way that people know the Fiend Club. It's like the Misfits fan club, and you pay a subscription, you could like get like all this kind of material that was so specific and limited edition and everything. What this album is a live release that was recorded over several dates and then compiled together. California, like Denver, a whole bunch of other places, but it's a whole bunch of them combined. Yeah. Sounds like one show when you listen to it. This was actually a Fiend Club release, so it was limited edition. It's actually, I think there's a few that have misprints. So there's actually like, so instead of having the CD that was black, it was like blue.
Huh. Same kind of thing that happened with Walk Among Us with the different color printing.
Exactly, yeah.
Interesting.
This was obviously very limited. It's sold, I mean, now on eBay for like tons and tons of money.
I bet.
It was initially sold on tour when they were from 98 to 2000.
What medium was it? A cassette, CD?
It was a CD.
CD, okay.
And so as far as I know, there might have been a cassette version, probably for the time. I mean, cassettes were still pretty big.
Right.
But yeah, sold through the Fiend Club, and then if you saw them on live on tour, you could probably find it in the time when they still had Graves. Yeah. The art, because I mentioned the art in the last one, this actually is a Puss Head picture on the front. Mm-hmm. So Puss Head obviously is a super famous artist, probably most famous for doing Metallica's tour stuff for years. And I think he also did the Saint Anger.
Oh, did he really?
I think he did that. The fist.
That's great.
I think he did the fist for that album. But of course, great. Pusshead's crazy. Yeah. Does like crazy skeletons and everything.
Great album art. I love the album art for this.
Yeah, it's like a skeleton with like the devil lock and everything.
Yeah.
Also, super extensively bootlegged album. Yeah. Ridiculously hard to find an original copy. If you find a record version, like actual vinyl record,
they made them.
It's fake. Yeah. It's a bootleg. It's a bait.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
You just saved me a lot of money, Donnie.
Yeah. As far as I know, it's never officially been released on vinyl, like licensed by the band. But I've seen it on vinyl before. So yeah, super, super popular album to bootleg.
Yeah.
But anyway, what do we think of this particular release?
For a live album compared to the first Evilive, the quality is definitely better. You can actually hear things now, which is really cool.
It's not just a wall of sound and like degraded tape going.
Yeah. That being said, there are still moments in this performance which I get a little righteous about.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about some of the good stuff first. Yeah. So obviously we're going into a different era, right? It's much easier to do things like DAT tape, and it's just easier than it was back then. I do feel like the mix on this album, which is something we really criticized on the first Evilive, it's better, but it's also not that great.
Yeah, no.
Guitar, so loud,
Holy crap, is it loud? It is. This album, it is great if you are trying to learn guitar or drum parts for the Misfits in this era. If you don't want to hear bass, you don't want to hear vocals, this is the album for you.
Yeah, this is like guitar and drums, the album. It's just so loud. God,
yeah.
So loud. And it's no joke. Like if you want to learn the songs on guitar for this era, absolutely, because it's just so insanely
I cannot imagine what it would have been like to be like right there in the pit with those speakers. But even just, I'm sure just Doyle's cab just being as loud as it is.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it was just a mixing thing. I'm sure Doyle just had his amp cranked up.
Also, in case you're wondering, this isn't just Graves era stuff. So
no, they actually do a couple of the Danzig era Misfit songs.
That's correct.
There's a handful of them in there.
Absolutely, and that's what you get to really hear. I mean, it's probably what a lot of people are curious about is how did Graves? I mean, because it's like, I write a song for a singer. Of course, they're probably gonna be able to sing it live. I mean, you hope. Maybe at this time you probably could.
Yeah.
But like you get a lot of the Danzig stuff. You get Last Caress, Where Eagles Dare.
Where Eagles Dare, which I got some stuff to say about that.
Yeah, Bullet, Vampira, Die Die, My Darling.
Yeah.
So you get a lot of those super crazy classics that are beloved, and it's cool to hear it, but
it's missing something.
It misses the mark sometimes. Yeah. This is much more, like we talked about in the last episode, Evilive isn't an album you put on at a party, right? Nope. Like in the background or anything like that, because it's so just noisy.
Messy and noisy. I think same goes for this, but it's more It's less offensive to the ears to listen to.
Yeah, it's more close to what you think of as like an album.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. I don't want to sound too harsh on the original or this one. I mean, they serve a purpose, you know? It's still pretty sloppy.
Yes. I especially the backup vocals. Oh my God. They are always like a couple seconds off and always way too quiet. It sounds like they're far away across the room or in the pit themselves. It sounds like that's where they're yelling from. Yep. You can't hear them.
Yeah. I mean, that's really the biggest problem I have with it is that the drowning out of a lot of the vocal stuff.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff that, I mean, like From Hell They Came, great vocals on that one.
Yep.
I mean, I just felt like some of the songs it really locks up super well.
Yes.
But
like American Nightmare, both Only and Graves, it just sounds like they left the stage and they're just gone.
Yeah, what was the deal with that? What was up with that?
He left. It's just gone. I even have in my notes, I'm like, Graves is gone. Graves is still gone. Only now left the stage. Oh, Graves is back. Nope, he's back gone.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like, and it's so weird because it's not one of those things where this is a just straight through live recording. It's like I said, they cherry pick the songs.
And they happen to cherry pick the ones where Graves is off taking a smoke break or something.
Well, that one really throws me out because I'm like, what? Like, you guys could have edited this song out, like, and put something else in there, but
no.
You include one where it's like missing half the band. Like, it's super weird.
Yeah.
Some of the ones that really did impress me here. I really like Last Caress on this record.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, I know it's not the Danzig version, whatever, but
yeah.
In my opinion, I always really liked the more distorted version of that anyway. I guess just because it's so much more hard hitting. And like I said, and I also like it when Danzig plays it with Doyle. So,
right.
So that's more to the actual performance and like some of the technical aspects of that performance, like the way they do it now.
Yeah.
Also, I don't think the original one wasn't even performed with Doyle on guitar. And so
no, right.
The fact that like it brings it more in line with what you think of as the Misfits sound, that's what I think of,
Totally. I will say, I just have to get this out of the way. If you are looking for Misfits karaoke, look no further to Where Eagles Dare from this album. I know we just talked about how there's no vocals on this one. I kid you not, it is Misfits karaoke. I wrote in big letters, this song sucked.
Oh, yeah. And that's one, like the bass tone on it too is really weird.
Yeah.
Too.
This one was just so off. It was really, even from the rest of the entire album, this one was off.
Sound like a Misfits tribute band playing Misfits.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so,
I would agree with that. I totally agree with that. And there's some moments on here, but with the Danzig stuff, it's like some of it you can't. It's like they pull together. It's like a lot of these songs. It feels like they pull together for certain parts really well, but then they just miss it for some reason.
Well, yeah, and it's weird that you said, it is compiled from so many different shows, but it almost seems like Graves is getting drunker and drunker throughout the album. Like his vocals get sloppier, and maybe they're just getting tired, but it just almost feels like by the end of the album, they just don't care anymore, and they kind of just want to leave. At least that's the feeling that I got. I was like, they just want to go home.
Yeah. Who knows what the circumstances behind that are, but you're not wrong. It's like some of it's pretty sloppy. Die Die My Darling, I mean, it's okay version of it, like the thing about this album, and just like what we talked about with the original, the one with Danzig, is there's a lot of energy in it. By the way, I think Dr. Chud pretty much saves every performance of dang, like the rock for this band, this version of it, because he's just, even if everyone's like the bass is way off or the vocals are off, whatever, it's like he's just right on point.
Trust in Chud, dude.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't think we were going to be coming in this being so complimentary to Dr. Chud, but
because I remember, I don't know, like growing up listening to them, I never, I always knew Jerry Only, I always knew Michael Graves, always knew Doyle, and then I could never remember the drummer for whatever reason, and like sitting down listening to these albums gave me such an appreciation for Chud.
Yeah,
my God,
Dr. Chud, he's
so good.
They need to bring back the Chud.
Yeah.
That's really what would help him.
I also like during Vampira the everybody having a good time. Good, because that's all I want.
Yeah, yeah. Well, actually, the funniest bit of banter I wrote down. I remember how like there was so much. By the way, not a lot of banter on this album at all. There's like 2 times where you hear him say anything.
No, they didn't tune their guitars. I was disappointed.
I know, yeah. Whereas like the funny parts, the reason you would listen to the first one was because of all the, like part through the song, like, hey man, cut it out, man. Like in the middle of a song. But at the end of Day of the Dead, I wrote this down. Michale Graves says, "We just got a murdergram from William Fiend, signed in blood for all to see."
Yep.
What?
I wrote that down too.
What? What was that?
I don't know.
What?
I don't know. They just got a murdergram written in blood. By who again?
By William Fiend.
Did you look up?
I don't know.
Okay.
It was weird. It was really weird.
I wrote down another piece of banter somewhere. Yeah, at the end of Die, Die, My Darling, maybe next time I'll have legs, is another thing he says. Maybe next time I'll have legs.
Maybe it was on the ground. I don't know.
I don't know.
Out of context, it doesn't make any sense.
I love it.
Yeah, Evilive 2 is something.
I'll say it's more palatable than Evilive 1, just in the sense of it's not so distorted. It's not so grainy. It's something you can, properly listen to, even though the songs may not be like well put together. Again, they're just palatable.
Yeah, and it still keeps that aggressive energy that was great from the first one. And, it also depends on if you want to hear a more stripped down version, way less produced versions of the American Psycho songs to hear like what it sounded like in rehearsals or something, like This Island Earth and stuff.
Yeah,
like it's great to hear those. My biggest complaint, it's not the fault of them. It's the fault of the time in which this was released. I wish it had some Famous Monsters songs.
Yeah,
that's my only complaint, because there's no official release of stuff from Famous Monsters live. I would even take these types of versions for those songs. I'm just curious,
Yeah, agreed.
And also because it suffers from the same problem that American Psycho had, right? It's kind of repetitive.
Yeah. Whoa.
Yeah. Because they're playing so much of that material, it's like some of the songs blend together, and then it's also live, so then you even have the things of where the tones sound very similar.
The tones blend together.
And so it's
American Psycho in a blender.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But you probably listen to see how Graves sings the Danzig songs and hear some of the American Psycho stuff, the best songs off there. Yeah. So for that, it's okay.
Yeah.
How you can listen to it? Good question. That's super weird because you can't really find it on.
I never listened to this until you sent me it. So, this was a new one to me.
On Spotify, I don't think it's on Spotify.
No, it's not.
You can't. Good luck buying the CD. I think I literally saw one on eBay that was like $200 the other day, but it doesn't pop up. This one doesn't pop up very much at all. I mean, really doesn't. And then people try to charge crazy amounts for it, and a lot of them are bootlegged. And
check your local dive bar in the bathroom. Maybe the URL is on the bathroom stall. That might be where you find it.
It does pop up on YouTube from time to time.
Oh, yeah?
And then every once in a while it gets pulled down. But even those copies I've seen on YouTube aren't as good a quality as the ones we listen to.
Yeah. Oh, good. It gets even worse.
It gets even worse.
Oh, good.
So officially listening to it is a pain in the butt.
Yeah, that's worth it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're curious, it's a really great oddity.
Yeah.
So, cool. Let's do Evilive 2. That was way too raw, Cameron. I am over this. What was I thinking? I wish I had something that was similar to American Psycho. Maybe, produced in a little bit of a different way.Maybe a little bit better. But it's just, I just felt like Evilive was way too brutal. Can we make it like a year later or something?
And, something about, celebrity ghouls, or maybe like famous monsters. That's what it is.
That's it. That was it. That's what I was thinking of. Anyway, here's 1999, Famous Monsters, the second official Michale Graves studio release. Yeah, it's American Psycho Part 2, kind of.
Yeah, my favorite out of the two, to be honest.
It is.
It's good.
Just objectively a better album.
It's good.
Even as far as the heavier parts are better, the softer parts are better, the choruses are better.
Yeah.
All of this was...
It's like Static Age and Walk Among Us. They found their sound and now they refined it.
Exactly.
And it's a good album.
Yeah, there's some weird history here I want to talk about in the lead up to Famous Monsters. Obviously, I do all this weird research and I find out all this strange stuff. So this is a pretty famous one, is that Michale Graves took a hiatus, in quotes, from the Misfits in 1998 when they went to South America and Europe. And there was a whole thing where, I forget how Graves explained it. It was like he felt people weren't looking out for him or something like that, or was being taken advantage of, something like that. And so he took a little bit of a hiatus from the band, was like, I'm out, whatever. So the band didn't cancel the shows, didn't do whatever, and so they still went, and they had Mike Hideous singing for them. By the way, that was a great fit for that band. In fact, if they could never get Danzig or Graves back, I would want them to have Mike Hideous be a singer, because it's a great fit. He's almost like somewhere between Danzig, Graves, and like I don't know, like one of the grunge singers or something like that. He just has like a real rasp. Yeah. He's like, just like, it's just hard. It's hard to do it.
Yeah.
He has a very unique voice, just like the other guys. But so obviously Mike Hideous did this from Empire Hideous, and there was a whole thing. Graves was like so shocked by that, but he really felt no one cared about him as a person or an artist. I felt he was being used, and I think he had some discussion saying like, oh, well, what about all the stuff I did for you guys? And like, you're just lucky to be with us. And he said he didn't feel special to the band or whatever. This whole thing, the emotions you go through as an artist anyway, and then people's things, about all that. So Graves came back to the band. The band signed to Roadrunner Records, and then they got to recording Famous Monsters. And this was obviously a pretty big album for them with the whole Scream and everything. But Graves said of the business side of this album, it was really rough. The touring and all that stuff. He felt like he's like, yeah, I was doing my job as an employee of Roadrunner Records.
Oh, really?
Less as a member of the Misfits. Because he felt like apparently just the relationship between him and Jerry Only had turned really sour.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But then, so with the whole Roadrunner Records thing, this album did get released, but in between it all, it was a whole bunch of like legality and all this stuff that was really weird.
That's kind of weird for the Misfit.
Yeah, isn't that weird? It's almost like
legal issues.
It's almost like they didn't learn the first time.
Weird.
Anyway, of course, the album's title is an allusion to Famous Monsters of Filmland, which is like the logo. Obviously, like the Misfits font is just ripped from that magazine. Of course, we do have Basil Gogos doing the cover for this one.
Yes.
Which, by the way, that looks like an issue of Famous Monsters of Filmland. We actually have the CD right here.
Yeah.
This literally looks like a cover for that magazine. Which
surprised if they didn't use that as a cover for a magazine.
Yeah.
But,
it's really funny. Like, they just really captured the band. The inside of the album doesn't really do justice to it. Just like Photoshop filters. But
yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah, I remember that now.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But the actual album cover is really cool.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the album. Let's get into the music.
As you said, it's American Psycho Part 2. So we have long and drony intros.
Yes,
with Kong at Gates.
Yep, Kong at the Gates. Another instrumental, just
wow,
some chains and all this stuff. So again, an intro, but then goes straight into the Forbidden Zone.
Forbidden Zone.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome song. Blasting into outer space, the planet of the apes. Just like so good.
Yeah.
This is really where we see just they honed in what really worked from the first album. This whole song is just great.
Yeah.
There was such a disconnect in the first album between like the verses and choruses. This album I feel fixes that.
Yeah.
Where the pieces go together very well, and it's just hit after hit after hit.
And also, like, this song, it almost felt like an overture for the album.
Mm-hmm.
It like kind of encapsulated the theme and everything like that. It got you like really pumped up and like ready to listen to this album. It's like, yeah, I want to meet all these ghouls. I want to see space things. Come on, give it to me. It was super cool. I love this song. Do you know if it has anything to do with Forbidden Zone, the movie with Danny Elfman?
No, I think I think it's talking about in the movie Planet of the Apes. There's like a area they don't go to. The spoilers on a movie from 1969.
Wow.
There's at the very end, with the Statue of Liberty and all that stuff, where they see like the old world was. That I believe that's the Forbidden Zone.
Ah.
So it's like
that makes sense. Well, they reference Planet of the Apes in here, so
yeah, history's one hero, and all stuff. So it's like the one guy, Charles.
I just wonder if they slipped any of the other Forbidden Zone reference in there, but
yeah, I don't think so. But Lost in Space. Oh, just the pinch harmonics and being the like again, like they just something about just honing in the riffs just like enough to where it's just so catchy.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of a Bad Religion song almost, kind of, and Bad Religion also has like really catchy type riffs as well. And I don't know why it just kind of bridged a little gap there. Just kind of sounded like a Bad Religion song, which it's not a negative comment to make. I love them both.
Yeah. One of the things I really want to mention, we're going to be talking about all these songs in order anyway. It's like this album has like the first 8 songs are just all amazing.
Yeah.
Like,
agreed.
And don't get me wrong, like Pumpkinhead and all the ones after it are good too, but like it's just hit after hit.
A-side is good.
Every single song on this could be a single for the first 8 of them. So like Dust to Dust.
Oh yeah.
Like all the palm meeting, like Dust to Dust, like all the, it's just so catchy, just so great.
Yeah, and that Dust to Dust especially, it's got such a meaty sound to it. I mean,
absolutely,
it is hard driving, meaty.
Yeah, absolutely. Crawling Eye. This is where you see some of the aggressive. Okay, fix the problem from the first one. This song's pretty much aggressive through the entire thing.
I know. It hit you like a freight train,
exactly.
man. Oh my god.
I know. That's one of the songs where I feel they fixed that issue from the first record, where you had like super aggressive parts and then really catchy chorus, and you're like, whatever. And this did a great job of distinguishing Lost in Space. It's like, this whole song is catchy.
Yes.
And then the Crawling Eye, it's like, this song's aggressive.
Well, yeah, and it's even what's funny about it is it still kind of follows the formula though, but instead of going to a soft part, it's like it's aggressive, then it gets more aggressive, and then it's back to
the regular
baseline. Yeah, the regular aggressive, yeah. Which I thought was really cool.
Witch Hunt.
Starting
to hear more of that metal stuff.
Yep.
We're on a witch hunt. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, cool accents in that song with the drums. Really, really cool drum accents in that one.
And then we're gonna have, you know what we're gonna have right here? I don't want you to yell or scream.
What?
Yeah.
More woes.
Yeah. Whoa. So this is probably one of the more famous songs. It's the only one on this album that had a music video, which the band did not agree with. Actually, they did not want that to be the single.
No,
and you know, I could see it. I mean, you got so many other single-worthy songs. Why the heck would you choose
Scream?
Well, yeah,
I mean,
it's a good song.
It's a great song.
And now, because of the music video and stuff, it's considered a classic, right? You're like, well, why wouldn't it be Scream? You're like, you posers, or
yeah.
But when you listen to the whole album and you think of what people were listening to in 1999, right? So you have the death of grunge, you have more of these like post Nickelback and Creed and all that stuff that comes through. And there was some minor key stuff, but like most of it's just major keyed stuff was really driving through. And especially with Green Day and all that stuff, you would think Forbidden Zone, Lost in Space, you would think Die Monster Die, you would think a lot of songs before you thought of
Scream
with just this huge long intro, and it's slow, and it's great, you know, that we can listen to it in retrospect as such a great song.
And the music video is funny too. It's just them running around a hospital.
Yeah, so zombie misfits.
Yeah.
That's actually a whole thing in of itself. It's, of course, directed by George A. Romero, who did Night of the Living Dead, Day of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead.
There you go.
This was written in a parking lot in Seattle.
Wait, what?
This song was written
in a parking lot in Seattle?
Yeah, when they were on tour.
Really?
Michael Graves wrote it out in a parking lot in Seattle. I thought that was cool. It's some local flair.
Yeah,
right
that's so cool.
By the way, there was a promotional VHS you could get. I've seen the promotional VHS that you could get with the music video that had, if you bought a set of the Misfits action figures that came out around the same time.
Yeah.
So if you bought the Misfits action figure set, you would get Scream on a VHS.
That's pretty cool.
That's so funny.
That's awesome.
This also caused a ton of problems within the band, this whole music video.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'll just throw us all in right now because I'm talking about the song.
Please.
So there's a long-standing story of that Michael Graves didn't show up to the first day of filming with this music video with George A. Romero. And the whole deal of the music video, how did he get George A. Romero to film it? It's like, what? He doesn't direct music videos.
Yeah.
So there's a movie called Bruiser that he was doing and he was planning. And Jerry only had done a deal with him where for him to direct the music video for the Misfits, they would provide 2 songs for the music video, and they would also appear in the movie for him.
Oh, cool!
And they are in the movie.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I'll have to check it out.
So actually, they appeared in another movie in 1995 before they'd even recorded anything with Michael Graves.
Yeah,
and they play a Chris the Conqueror song.
Ha!
So I forget what movie that is, but
funny.
But it's the Misfits are actually in a ton of movies, like 4 different movies. The deal went sour. There was no soundtrack released for Bruiser, and then it got into cuts from the Crypt. But there was a whole thing where like Michael Graves explained his side of the story, because obviously we've heard like Misfits management side where it's like he didn't show up and we had George A. Romero and like how disrespectful is that and whatever. Michael Graves said that he was like they were dealing with a lot of internal issues with the band. And he said that like Doyle had agreed not to go because they were like trying to protest and be like, well, what? We're not going along with this. This isn't fair. And then Doyle called him back and was like, oh, I'm going.
Huh.
But then Graves is like, oh, now I got to try and get to Canada. And that was like a whole thing trying to like get to the location.
Oh God.
And then so he missed the first day. He's like, even if I wanted to be there, I couldn't have made it.
Huh.
And he didn't know that Doyle was going, and
terrible coordination, terrible communication.
Yeah, it's like you have a band that's fractured anyway at that point,
Right.
and then you add in video shoots and stuff that isn't just playing live. It gets way more complicated, especially that's, film music videos, kind of boring. So that was pretty interesting. Anyway.
Saturday night, oh my gosh, this was my anthem for a while. I love this song.
It's a great song.
It's great. It's great for long night drives. It even says it in the song about long night drives. It's a great 50s inspired bop. It's good.
Yeah, it's just a great. I mean, it's just like it's just classic. Yeah. I mean, it's just if like Last Caress or Hybrid Moments or stuff like that is like the definitive Danzig era songs. Saturday Night is probably the song.
Yeah.
Because you can take it, just like the things that we loved about old Danzig songs, where you could take it, you could arrange it in a million different ways. It's just melodies and stuff are just perfect. This is that song.
It's
where
super good.
It's maybe a little slow for people who like the Misfits.
Yeah. But if you want a punk rock slow dance song, here you go.
Yeah,
man.
about
Saturday
murdering
night.
people.
Yeah.
It's just
all your romantic things,
Yep. And Michale Graves eventually did write a sequel to this. It's like, I don't know, it's like driving
Sunday morning.
It's something like it literally is something like that. It literally is like driving on Sunday morning or something.
Oh, that's so great. He did I know he did he does acoustic covers of this song all the time.
That is correct. Yes.
But good song.
Pumpkinhead. Now, I love this song.
Yep.
Very scrappy compared to a lot of stuff on the album.
Yeah.
Great big chorus. I also Pumpkinhead the movie. Let me just rant on Pumpkinhead the movie for a second.
Do it.
Like, by the way, this song is like most of the songs. It's just the plot of the movie.
Yeah.
Pumpkinhead. It could have been so much better if they'd spent more time making the creature better. It just looks like a weird, naked xenomorph. Like it's just weird. It's just really weird. I don't understand why. The movie starts off so good. It has Lance Henriksen in it from Alien.
Oh, okay.
Aliens.
Yeah.
As Bishop. Man, he's such a good actor. And then I saw the monster, and I was, that's the monster. But I knew the song way before I actually watched the movie, and then I was like, oh, this is the song, and then I watched. That's it.
Yeah.
Anyway, great song, better than the creature in the movie for sure.
Love the bass guitar in the song. Really, really good. Oh my god.
That just that opening
yeah.
Like just great.
Super good. Scarecrow Man.
Not one of my favorites. I gotta be honest. As far as things on the album,
no, it had some cool parts. Had a guitar solo in it. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Don't get a lot of kind of typical guitar solos and Misfit songs.
You could probably boil them down to probably 2 minutes all across the entire discography.
Exactly. So we got a little guitar solo in this. Thank you, Doyle.
Yep. Die Monster Die.
Die Monster Die.
Yeah. It's great. It's
a single.
Yeah, absolutely. Dun, 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 dun. Man, it's catchy as hell.
It's so good. Yeah.
And just like the drums and everything, this is no one where the drums just make it, because it could have been just a more basic, super basic punk beat song, but it gives you that swing with the drums, and that's really what distinguishes it. Especially, and this also showcases the vocals on this album.
Yes,
which I really liked them, and they were, of course, they're very heavily processed, from the first record.
Well, there's that moment where I forget if it's just drums and vocals, but there's a place where during that part, it's basically just vocals and drums for a bit, and it really puts the vocals on a pedestal. And hey, look at this. I thought it was used pretty tastefully in that sense. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah. Well, I think that they really discovered that. I mean, it was on the first album too, but they let the vocals breathe a lot more instead of just double tracking everything.
Yeah.
You could tell they just threw on some reverb and a processing effect, and Die Monster Die, I think, is a perfect example of that, where just the whole opening part, it feels very basic, but it works super well.
Yeah.
Of course, it has the big chorus, Die Monster, and then everybody comes in, and but still, I think that the production fits the song a little better than some of the stuff on American Psycho.
Agreed.
Living Hell.
Living Hell. Now we're here.
Now we're here.
Chuggy guitars, woes, and strong bass. Pretty
much it, yeah. And this comes to down some of the stuff. Like, I felt like the second part of this album, some of it starts to sound similar and maybe not quite the A material. Don't get me wrong, it's not bad. Descending Angel, the next song.
Oh, Descending Angel's great.
It's a great one.
Everyone and their grandmother knows this one.
Yeah. It was actually re-recorded for the Only lineup.
Yeah.
Way worse, in my opinion. But I guess, I don't know, it's weird.
No, but Descending Angels, it's another one like Saturday Night. That's like one of the first ones that come to mind when I think like Graves era Misfits, or even just Misfits. It's like Descending Angel. It's a great song.
Them.
Fat bass.
Fat bass, chorusy vocals.
Yeah.
The one thing that's what threw me off in this one is the vocal effects and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it was like super like process, which is cool. I mean, I liked it.
I loved it. Yeah.
But it was it's great. It's got catchy everything. This song sounds almost like they just produced it totally differently.
Yeah.
It's good though. I mean, it kind of puts it in a league of its own from the other stuff.
Totally.
Fiend Club.
This
was one of my favorite songs on this album for a long time.
Yeah.
And most of it was because not only the riff, it's just a super basic, catchy riff.
Yeah.
The do na no na no no no. And like, but Dr. Chud's drumming the scats, like,
it's great. It's kind of the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse theme for Misfits fans.
Absolutely, yes. Yes. And that
it is if you shout it anywhere, you will hear punks down the street shouting back, "We are the Fiend Club."
and I think a lot of people even realize that this is the Graves era stuff too, where it's like that's the anthem to the Fiend Club is the Graves era.
Totally.
Man, I don't want to rag too much on the Only stuff because I don't know if we're gonna like. Maybe we'll change our mind from the perspective of but like, oh man, I heard a really rough version of this.
Oh really?
With Only. Okay, all right. So Hunting Humans.
That's
okay. I don't know. I didn't really like it that much.
I felt that the intro was a little misdirecting.
Yeah, exactly.
It was like super heavy, and then all of a sudden I was like, huh. Okay.
Yeah, and after it's okay. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, the song's good. It's another one of those things where it sounds like a 60s song.
Yeah.
With the Misfits effects all over it. And that's good. I felt like of those songs, this wasn't the greatest.
Yeah, totally.
Helena.
I love this song. I always love this song. If you know me in person, this is absolutely one of my top favorite Misfits songs. I mentioned in the last one, but it's the plot to a movie called Boxing Helena, which go watch that movie. It's a bit of a trip, but it's super good. It's just a fun song, and also power chord solo from Doyle.
Yeah.
And like when I first heard that, it blew my mind. An entire just guitar solo, ripping it on power chords. It was so cool. So that's one of my favorite songs. I could talk days and days about that one.
Well, if you cut off my arms, oh, never mind. Yeah. And then, of course, we just have a closer.
Kong Unleashed.
Yeah, he gets out at the end.
He was at the gate, but now he's free and he's pissed.
Yeah, he's absolutely.
He is pissed.
So that's really how it. I mean, that's why I stopped recording. I heard it's like just you can hear it just rampages through the studio, and it's a mess. And that's probably why we never heard anything else from Graves.
Kong got him.
Yeah, yeah. It's just in all seriousness, it's just another like
long
soundscape one.
Yeah, it's the first track. It's basically, I don't know, it's Kong at gate, but a little bit more aggressive. That's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go over some of the history because, well, I mean, to wrap up Famous Monsters, I mean, it's a really great album. I think it's the best of the entire Grave stuff that was put out. I mean, in my opinion, they just really refined a lot of the stuff that I didn't like about American Psycho, and that it's not quite as repetitive. Like I said, some of the latter half of the album gets there, but like
I will also say that, I don't know, sometimes it gets a little too sappy love song with like Descending Angel, even Saturday Night. Sometimes I'm just like, okay.
I get it. It's a twisted love song.
Oh my gosh.
Yet again.
Yeah, same with Helena. But, you know, if you're more used to traditional punk songs, you're just like, oh, what angry, blah, 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 blah. Maybe some of the songs on here aren't for you, but overall, it's a great album. I love it.
I think it's great.
Well put together.
I think, well, in the more recent years, like I said, it's come to light that a lot more people are giving this material, cutting it some slack.
Yeah,
being like,
giving it a second chance.
Well, it's not Danzig, because it was like really, I mean, even magazines and stuff like that I used to read at the time, it's just, they just bashed on it so hard because it's like, it's kind of thing, right? It's always like whatever's old is good, whatever's new is bad, right?
Yeah.
And it was still too new coming in. People are just like, well, Danzig's older and blah, blah, blah. And like, and he should go back to Misfits and blah, blah, blah and all this stuff.
It's more hardcore.
Yeah. And people used to bash on it. But now that so much time has passed, and like I always say, if you have enough people who hear it when they're younger, they're going to love it when they're older. You know? And then it becomes a classic.
Yep.
Because people can relate to it and be like, oh, I remember this song when I was little. Like, oh, yeah, why don't people like this more? And
yeah.
It's just the time thing. Totally. And material, I think, is super awesome for this time. Just from a songwriting structure standpoint, it's great. The performances, you can tell they put a lot into the performances. They're hard-hitting. They don't feel phoned in. It doesn't feel like they just saved a whole bunch of better material for some other project, you know?
No, yeah.
But I think Famous Monsters is definitely the best of this era.
Agreed.
Because
agreed.
It just seems like everything's just fully realized. And like Saturday Night, that's a perfect example of like it. No matter where you hear it, it's included in tons of different
also,
stuff.
No matter what genre you listen to, I've had people who, they would never really listen to punk. They would never really, or any sort of alternative music, and I show them Saturday Night. They love it.
Yeah.
They're kind of like, oh, weird lyrics, but great song. I'm like, yeah, I know.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. But that was Famous Monsters.
Yes.
Cameron, that was too good.
Too good?
Can you give me something way crappier?
Yeah, I can. It's been buried for a while.
Oh, yeah.
It's been in its tomb for a little bit.
Yeah.
It's cuts from the Crypt.
It's
been rotting. Rotting.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about cuts from the Crypt, which is just and let me talk about some of the history about what the heck this is. So this, obviously, we're talking about a compilation because I said that was the last official Graves release, right? What the heck happened, right? So let me talk about some of the weird stuff that happened from 1998 to 2000.
I'm sure there's a lot of it.
Obviously, I said Misfits stuff, the legal stuff was getting really rough for Graves. Just kind of complicated for him. And keep in mind, he's a pretty young guy as far as compared to everyone else, which was even harder because they were all legaled out, and everything. Mm-hmm. And Graves said he didn't really feel that included in a lot of that stuff. So one of the weirder things from this time, in 1999, they appeared on World Championship Wrestling with Vampiro.
Yeah.
Now, it's hard to believe it if you don't see it.
It's awesome.
But it's literally, I mean, I'm not talking like they just licensed the images. The
Misfits
as a band
went on wrestling and kicked the crap out of people.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
It's so crazy but the wrestler Vampiro literally like is wearing like the Fiend Club logo and has like the face paint, and Doyle and Michael and Dr. Chud and Only come out.
They're backup B-boys.
Literally come in and like start taking on wrestlers.
Yeah.
And so that's crazy.
That's awesome.
But there was a whole like it's fine. I listened to the whole thing with Jerry Only talking about this, where it like apparently went really sour to where they were trying to like get the rights to the logos and stuff. Mm-hmm. And he's like, nope, that's it. And they just cut it off. But there's a whole bunch of episodes of this wrestling thing where you can watch the Misfits wrestle.
That's great.
And it's funny because Doyle's like bigger than most of the guys.
Yeah, Doyle easily looks like he could take on everyone at once and win.
Yeah. So that's actually pretty crazy to me. And a lot of the stuff for films that came out later after Graves was done with the band actually came out, like were filmed around this time. We had Big Money Hustlers, Bruiser, and Campfire Stories. And as far as I could tell, they were all recorded before Graves left the band, but they're all released like 2000 to 2001. What do you think? What do you think of those appearances?
Watching Doyle throw a donut at a cop gave me much pleasure.
Yep. It's literally Big Money Hustlers is the Juggalo movie.
It's great.
Like insane.
I haven't seen it, but I want to now just for that scene. I'm gonna go home and watch it.
Man, there's some weird thing. Okay, so I think there's a weird thing where one of the guys who helped manage them or something, like directed that movie. Like it's all like connected.
Oh yeah, it's like a big home movie.
Yeah, it seems random. But then you look at all the credits of everything, and it's like, oh, now it makes sense of why they're doing these weird projects.
Interesting.
But yeah, got super bad. Obviously, the tensions between, and apparently it was more like the tension between Graves and Chud, and Only. Apparently, were like the big issues with this.
Yeah.
The whole lineup. So, House of Blues, Orlando, Florida, October 25th, 2000. They just quit. And they're like, "Oh,
we're done."
The Graves and Chud just walked out. They're like, "No, we're done." Apparently, they just walked off stage. He was apparently one of the reasons he not only was very depressed, but he said he wasn't getting paid anymore. Or like,
what?
Yeah, that's what his allegation is.
Okay.
I don't know what happened, right?
Better not be true. Give some money to Chud, man. He's carrying you in some of these songs, man. Come
honestly,
on.
Man, that's a drummer you would want to keep.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus, like absolutely. Yeah, there was that whole thing, but October 25th, but then we October 25th, 2000, and then we have Cuts from the Crypt. Let's cover that. And then get into some more history. But that's the reason there's no fourth official album with him. And we have kind of a combination of B-sides, demos.
So weird.
And,
it's a weird amalgamation of just misfits.
yeah. Cuts from the Crypt. Again, just like Evilive, super rare disc.
Yeah.
Really rare. You also have another Pusshead piece as the cover. Which is fun.
This album art's super cool too.
Yeah.
Pusshead, come on, man. Killing it with these.
It's way better than the actual album. What you have on here is mostly just demos and stuff. You know, there's some cool stuff. There's some not so cool stuff. What do you think?
Yeah, there are certain songs in here that are new favorites of mine.
Dead King's Rise? No? Oh, no.
No, not that one. Bruiser. When we get to Bruiser, I really, really like that one. And then some of my old favorites got destroyed.
Yeah, honestly. So it's basically just... It sucks because there's so many demos on this that it's barely even an album. I mean, because it's not very different than having the studio albums. They just sound worse or not as developed. You do Dead King's Rise, which honestly I thought it was pretty okay. But Blacklight I think was way worse.
Yep.
The Haunting and The Hunger, I mean, they're pretty much the same as the album versions.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if The Hunger was maybe a little bit... I want to say it was a little faster, maybe?
Yeah. But here's the thing is, like, these demos are already pretty produced.
Yeah.
It's not like you're going to, like a 4-track recording of, like, that sounds really rough, you know? It's like, it could have been a studio release anyway.
Yeah.
It's just that the previous releases are so produced that these aren't as produced.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
Yes. By comparison, everything's all relative, but yeah, it was definitely less produced.
Yeah, but you have, obviously, Mars Attacks, Dr. Five Rises Again. I mean...
Dr. Five Rises Again, 6 minutes and 50 seconds.
Yeah.
Oh my
crazy,
God.
right?
That has to be the longest. I mean, that's the only one of my knowledge.
From this era, yeah.
From this era, yeah.
Yeah. I absolutely...
Also, Kong at Gates was the intro for this one, I noticed. Or
Different opener, yeah.
Different opener, but it's pretty similar to Kong at Gates, I want to say. It was almost the exact same riff. We got some nice squealing going on from Doyle's guitar.
Yeah.
Got some cool, fun riffs he's throwing in there. So, the next one's weird, too. I got to write.
So here's where it gets into some of the weirder stuff. So...
What is up with this, dude?
So, like, most of the front end of this is demos, right? That pretty much sound very close to what you already know. Then you have covers. So this one was for an Iggy Pop tribute. It's a song.
Yeah, it starts out with, oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Misfits and politics. Or anything relating around there? Never. And so when I heard this, I was like, a weirdly political Misfits song. It's not really about spooky things too much. It's go out and vote.
Well, it being a cover too is like it's supposed to be part of that, but
I guess
it
was very it was a big surprise for me to hear that.
Yeah, well, for them to choose that song with all the other Iggy Pop songs you could choose, right?
Totally.
And then they choose that one. Or maybe, I don't know, let's say a list or something like that.
I want to be your dog or something like that.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, I'm bored.
Yeah.
I'm chairman of the board. Yeah, probably one of the most famous ones here, which was Monster Mash.
Monster Mash!
I do not know if it's the same version that's on Project 1950.
I don't think it is.
You don't think it is?
I don't think it is, but anyway, I mean, really all I wrote about this is it's Misfits Monster Mash. What else do you want?
Pretty much.
You like Monster Mash? Do you like the Misfits? Here's this for your
Only
next
on
Halloween.
vocals.
Yeah. Oh yeah, only on vocals for this one, and throw this at your next Halloween party.
Yeah, it's that's also the weird thing. So, like, the next era of the Misfits is just Jerry only on vocals.
Yes.
And
you get a little sneak peek.
Get a sneak peek of that. It's pretty rough here.
I want to be an New York Ranger. What?
Okay.
What is this?
I did a lot of research into this to see what the heck is it. So this song, and it even says like with him, right? Like it's not any of the guys in the band singing. This song was written, so it's about hockey.
It's about New York hockey team, isn't it? Yeah.
And there was a whole big thing where they wrote this song for the team, and then the team was like, oh, you can't say like, I want to be a dangerous life or something, and they didn't buy it. And then they put it out on a single on its own and then sold it at shows or something like that. But this is like the guy who, the John Capiero, did a whole bunch of stuff for the Misfits, but somehow made his way into a song, and it's just really, really weird.
It's so weird.
It is probably one of the strangest songs. It doesn't sound like the Misfits. It doesn't feel like the Misfits.
Strike this one off the record, please. Yeah.
But this seriously got like a full-on single release. Yeah, it just is really weird. And there's also a rumor that when Graves took his first hiatus, that he quit to become a hockey player.
Really?
And then this is also became like a part of that,
kind of a joke. Yeah, that's funny.
But it's just a really weird. You can look into it. There was apparently a whole good bit of publicity for this thing for them, where they got like write-ups in newspapers and all this stuff. And but it probably was so localized that people who aren't from that area have no freaking idea what it even relates to. So.
I know.
Anyway,
the Scream demo, which is next. Oh my God, reverb, my man.
Oh yeah, and
like, then if you want to hear Misfits playing a big church hall, there you go. It's this.
And also, like, I think at the end, it also have like a kind of cracking voice from Graves too, a little bit.
Yeah,
there's a bit of that too, where it's like the demo versions.
It's kind of very 80s. The drums sounded very 80s to me, in my opinion. Maybe it's just because of all the reverb going on there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then here you also have some bonus tracks that were actually on
Famous Monsters.
Yeah, these were the bonus tracks for Famous Monsters. Yeah. I didn't talk about them in that one because I figured we need something to talk about here.
Yeah. 1 million years BC.
Great movie. Good song. I mean, it's pretty good.
It's kind of Ramonesy in my opinion. That's kind of what I put down.
Yeah.
There's a great thing at the end where I assuming it's Graves just yells bitch and then starts laughing.
It's great. It's classic.
Classy.
Yeah. What do you think about Helena 2?
Helena 2 is so cool. Like as a fan of the first Helena, I think this one's such an interesting. It starts out almost like you're listening to it through a telephone.
Yeah, that's
for the first intro, and then once that power chord solo comes in, oh my God, does it come in? It is a wall of sound that just blasts you. It's awesome. I love it. Love this version. It's kind of, it's different. It's almost a novelty version of Helena, but for it being kind of a novelty version, I love it.
Devil Doll.
Yeah.
Well, I just thought it's another one of those examples of, even though it's an original song technically for this particular release, it just kind of blended in with a lot of the stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it's good that you don't have to get the bonus tracks, whatever, and it still comes from the Famous Monsters batch of songs. But, I mean, yeah, it's okay.
There were a few modes that, like, the breakdown was kind of cool of it. The vocals dragged a little bit.
Well, I mean, it's pretty much accurate to it.
Yeah.
You have the two songs that were supposed to be for Bruiser, which are Fiend Without a Face and Bruiser.
So Fiend Without a Face, synthy intro. It's got some some bleep bloops in there for you. If you like bleep bloop music, it's got bleep bloop intro.
I was wondering if it's like a reference to Eyes Without a Face. Like, Eyes Without a Face.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but really, I mean, of the two, Bruiser's by far the
Bruiser's better. Yeah, because Fiend Without a Face is super dreary, slow. It was almost like a Misfits lullaby, is the best way I can describe it.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. But Bruiser's cool, man. That melody is catchy. It's been stuck in my head. It's so good.
It's like the Misfits in this era encapsulated.
Yeah, really is, because it's got that kind of 50s, 60s kind of pop vibe to it. Let's go to the hop. But you still got some really cool heavy riffs in there. I mean, the guitars are heavy, but the melodies themselves are very pop sounding, which is a very cool juxtaposition. Yeah.
Yeah. Then you have No More Moments.
Yeah.
Again, I mean, for me, a middle of the road song for this lineup.
Yeah.
I mean, still really good. Don't get me wrong. Still really good. Has all the elements you think of for this band, but it's just not that much of a standout.
Yeah. The ride is really sharp to the ear, too. I found it's all on the bell, and it kind of overpowers in certain points where I'm just like, whoa, Chud. Take it down a bit. Back off, boy. And then they do a cover of Rise Above by Black Flag.
Oh my gosh.
Robo's on the drums for this one, which is cool. We got Robo back for that. The vocals, they're not strong enough for the song.
Not.
It's like, I mean, this is a song where you're supposed to be pissed. I mean, you need to be so pissed to sing this song.
I just don't think the Misfits have that kind of energy that this song needs.
No, what you can hear Graves really trying, but like halfway through the words, his voice cracks or cuts or just like fails to like push it through, and it just I mean, minus the vocals, the accompaniment was actually pretty on point. It had that aggressiveness
sounds like
to it. It just, without those biting vocals that, I mean, Henry Rollins did a great job of in the original. Like,
you can tell that Doyle does not play this type of style, which is really funny, because I'm just like...
I think he slips up coming in as well. Yeah, you can hear him, he like misses a beat or something.
Switching parts, too. It's like really obvious.
Yeah. I don't know. This album's kind of all over the place. It kind of almost sounds like they was like, hey, let's do a Misfits tribute band. Let's have our first rehearsal, and someone recorded it. Like, that's kind of what it sounds like. It's
just like really, I don't know what they were thinking with this whole release, where it's not great. It's not great, man. It's just, they really just missed the mark on this for me. This whole release just feels super rushed. Not enough new material. I don't know,
No, it's cool if you're a diehard Misfits fan and you want to hear everything that they've ever released and all the cool little secret fun things, even if they're not great songs. Like, this is a cool album to do that, because you do get all these really cool demos and covers and fun stuff. Like, me being a Misfits fan, I hadn't heard a lot of these versions of the song, so it was really cool for me to get to hear that. But if you are actually looking for, music that you would, I don't want to say enjoy, but like actually like sit down, like properly listen to and jam out to, maybe these versions just quite don't hit their mark.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the nicest way you could say that. Yeah. For me, not recommended. I
would say recommended for Misfits nerds.
Yeah, if you want to hear everything, there you go. But it's, especially today. So it was on Spotify at one point.
Oh, is it really?
Not anymore. Oh. You can still find the listing of it on Spotify, but it's not. It won't play like a lot of albums on Spotify. It's just a really weird release, and I'm not a big fan of it. I just think it doesn't have enough meat.
No.
And it's too expensive. Too expensive to find it.
Is it really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's. I don't see it as being as rare as the Evilive II stuff, but I still see, like, when you see pop up on eBay, you're gonna be spending at least like $30. So
yeah, no,
I'm just not feeling it.
No, yeah, I think my big takeaway from this is the song Bruiser. If there's anything you gotta listen to from this, it's Bruiser.
Yep, just buy the movie, I guess.
There you go.
So,
well, time to put this one back away. Go back in your tomb, sir.
Yeah, right. Why don't we not cut it from the crypt? Why don't we just leave it in the crypt?
Leave it in the crypt.
Yeah. So that was the last, I guess, technically official release with Graves. I think there was maybe like a little bit of spot on Monster Mash or something, or some of the stuff from Project 1950, but this was really the end of it. Graves and Chud left the band. Obviously, before this was released, I believe. They went on to form Dr. Chud's X-Ward, which released an album. It's pretty much just Misfits.
I haven't heard it yet.
Yeah, it's like, I believe it's just a one-off album.
Okay.
You can find it. I haven't listened to it enough to be able to give you a full review of it, but from what I heard, pretty much sounds like the Misfits minus Doyle and Jerry only. That's kind of the bridge to what then became Michael Graves' solo career, which has continued. He's done an insane amount of albums over the years, and of all different styles, acoustic and some poppier kind of stuff, more alternative rock type of stuff, and stuff that sounds exactly like the Misfits. And
And Only is continued with the Misfits. There's kind of an Only era with Jerry Only and the Misfits, and after this whole dissolve.
Yeah. And actually Graves has talked about it in depth somewhat, where he talked about like he quit, he's like done, and like didn't want to be taken advantage of by the record making machine, and felt like he was being chewed up by that whole thing. And he literally went to go live in like a studio apartment with like a 1-bedroom apartment, worked at IHOP and worked Navy construction.
Interesting.
So we go do construction, then we go work at IHOP to rebuild his soul and all this stuff. And
how weird would it be if you're in there, it's 10 a.m., you're getting pancakes, and all of a sudden Michale Graves from the Misfits hands you a stack of flapjacks and some maple syrup.
Like, you're a famous monster, aren't you? Yeah, that would be crazy.
So weird.
Yeah. Also, at this time, I mean, basically just split up the entire band. I mean, essentially what happened. So Only fronted the band, and there's some really rough times coming for the band, and like especially like 2001 stuff. You can find some of the footage, and it's like, oh man, like he was not quite as good as he was today. Yeah. Doyle took an indefinite hiatus from performing. He divorced, remarried, had another kid. He also had some problems with tendonitis in his elbow.
Oof.
And so was dealing with all that stuff. So this version of the band basically just ended. When asked, so because there has been Danzig reunions.
Yes, there has.
Doyle was asked very directly if he would want to reunite with the Graves era. Like, it's like, oh, that's really famous. He said no. And then when asked why wouldn't, he just in like Doyle fashion, just kind of ducked the question. Yeah. It was just like, next question.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. Not feeling it.
Yep. He's just like, wouldn't want to do it. He does say that he, at least at the time when this interview, it was only a few years ago, it was like 2017 or something like that, where he was asked he seemed like, he's like, oh yeah, we talk, whatever. But then it just seemed to kind of
fizzle.
Like he didn't really want to talk about that whole situation.
Another one of his bad breakups.
Yeah, right. But then in the ensuing years, Only has in fact brought lawsuits against Michale Graves, or the Misfits trademark company LLC has brought things against Graves, saying that he's illegally using the image of the Misfits to promote his own things.
How dare he?
And and I've seen performances where Graves says, like, I'm going to play these songs for you. I keep getting in trouble for playing them, but I'm going to play them anyway and stuff. So I don't know what the deal with the specific litigation for that is, like, against him. Because he does have songwriting credits on a lot of these songs.
Yeah. You should be able to play some of them. Come on.
Of course, like Dig Up Her Bones. And he's re-recorded like a ton of them.
Oh,
like,
sure.
He's redone like Dig Up Her Bones, Saturday Night, Scream, all of them. Yeah. All the ones that he has a credit on. And then, of course, he plays like all the Misfits stuff live.
Yeah.
And I think as late as 2019, he was still getting like
flack.
Yeah, like litigation against him. And he even put like the guy who made like the I Want to Be a New York Ranger song, whatever, John, who's involved with him, he said like basically like Graves revived, like there's this whole huge letter like where he's like, Graves basically revived, you guys were doing Chris the Conqueror, which went nowhere, and then I helped revive your careers. And then he's like, and then the talentless John, whatever, the guy who wrote that New York Rangers song, like the talentless hack. And it's like this whole huge letter thing.
I want to have that printed on my wall.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But it's like the accusations were weird, and to begin with, to be like, oh, using the image to promote. It's like, well, he's a singer of the Misfits. I mean, it's like, I get it, but it's
also your logo. You stole that from the Crimson. It's not even your logo.
Yeah, he should just like get the Crimson Ghost. Like, be like, what that movie's
that's Crimson Ghost.
Yeah, just take screenshots of it.
Exactly.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah,
that's the Michale Graves logo.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the whole thing. I don't know the details of all this stuff. I mean, it's like, I guess it just gets super messy and stuff. But I've read some of the responses and stuff. I don't know where any of this went. But it's really weird.
Yeah.
But then over the years, and I'm gonna address this.
You are.
I am.
Okay.
But the reason I want to address it is because remember how I say, for some reason, a lot of these episodes, there's nothing really going on with these bands for a long time. It seems like the moment I want to do an episode on it, some kind of crazy happens.
Yeah.
So the reason we talk about the music is because, the music is very important to musicians, and none of what I'm talking about was going on even when...
No. This,
Yeah, so...
This is very recent, completely separate from the Misfits.
Yeah.
It just happens to be about the guy who used to be in the Misfits.
Over like 20 years ago.
20 years ago. But
so,
what happened?
So there's this whole thing of Michael Graves being very conservative.
Yes.
He did appear on there's like a really funny thing with the Jon Stewart.
Oh, yeah.
Daily
I remember
Show or
watching
whatever,
that, yeah.
where it's like conservative punks and he's like very conservative. And I think he said later he became a libertarian, but there's a whole thing of where he's like, yeah, man, like Bush is awesome. Like when George W. Bush was president.
Yeah.
There's a big controversy last year when he's talking about how he's supported the Proud Boys and all this stuff. And I'm not going to try and put my political opinion. I know people listen all around the world. They probably don't even know what a lot of this, it's just that people think that probably a lot of people who are into punk probably wouldn't support that. And that's one of the reasons I'm mentioning it. But then, and got super big headline news in America very recently was the whole
storming of the Capitol.
The whole Capitol Hill thing that happened. And Michael Graves was there.
Yeah.
And he posted like a thing that was like freedom of America and like, we need
show up this date at this time.
And like Michael Graves would perform at the Capitol and there's photos of him there and all this stuff. And I just thought I would mention that because that's crazy to me.
That's so weird.
That's weird because it's like that's a singer. That's a former singer in the Misfits.
The Misfits. Yeah.
But I thought I would mention it here because I don't know. Maybe somebody would mention it, but I thought it was just incredibly strange.
Because we were talking about this. I haven't seen this until you mentioned it. Like I'm on the punk forums. I browse through there. And it's like I didn't see anything.
Yeah, right.
I didn't see anything about this until I got here today, and you were like, "Look."
Yeah, I didn't know about it until I was doing research for this.
Yeah,
at all. Because I felt like that would be something people would talk about. Because people give so much crap to.
Anytime Michael Graves does something stupid, it's always a headliner on punknews.org or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I get he's not Danzig, right? There's like all these photos of Danzig getting groceries.
Yeah.
Or like that photo of Danzig wrapping presents.
Yeah.
People
I got something to say. I just bought some milk today.
Yeah. But there's like all those photos of Danzig for doing anything. And people, every time he does something, people was like, can you believe this? And people have done the same thing with Graves or any punk person, because like it's super tight-knit community. That's why I thought it was super weird that I had never seen anything of this until I was just like doing research. I was like, whoa, okay. Didn't see that one coming.
Yeah.
I didn't even know about the whole Proud Boys thing that happened last year.
See, I knew about that. I just didn't know he was at the Capitol that day.
I had no idea.
That's crazy.
I didn't know about any of that.
Really? Like, it's so funny.
So I wanted to say that I am aware of that at this point.
Yes.
But it's, it's one of those things where I know people just like to burn steamroll CDs or I guess delete it from your playlist on Spotify. Like, I think the music is still really great. And it's not just him who wrote it. It's not, it's this whole group effort. And Jerry Only, there's the whole thing with Jerry Only and Trump.
And I think that the thing is like none of his political opinions, at least from what I heard from listening to all of the albums, he didn't put his political opinion in any of the songs. They're just about spooky, fun Halloween stuff. And so, it allows you to kind of separate the artist from the art a little bit more than you would with some other punk bands. Like, I don't know, Dead Kennedys comes to mind where it's very heavily political and all political.
Well, even Only said in an interview when they rebooted the Misfits, he talked about that where he's like, we don't get political. We're not about that. Like this, we're not trying to inject all this political stuff into our music. We're trying to be a fun, hey, let's go have a spooky time, kind of band.
Yeah.
I did feel that I wanted to mention it this time because I just thought that was such an insane
so
thing.
Outrageous. Yeah.
That it was almost just like just a crazy piece of trivia to me.
Yeah.
And because that's like worldwide news.
It happened so recently too.
Yeah, at the time of recording this.
Yes.
So I just thought that was crazy.
Yeah.
So do with that information what you will. We've reviewed the music. We've told you about some of the people. We told you about some of the history. Yeah. I think that's going to wrap up the Graves era of stuff. So yeah, what a journey. Very complicated. I mean,
it was a weird one.
Yeah.
It wasn't as straightforward as the Danzig era where it was just kind of like, okay.
Which wasn't even straightforward to begin with.
No, but it was more than, compared to this one where it's just kind of like, okay, it's kind of weird. Okay, it's heavy. Now it's heavier. This one was just kind of
and then it's just, it sucks because it almost just like petered out, at least as far as.
Cuts from the Crypt.
Yeah, exactly. And the music videos and stuff are cool, and there's some of the most famous things from the Misfits nowadays.
Go watch the music videos.
I wish that there was more.
Yeah.
But it doesn't look like a reunion's ever going to happen with them together, and the Only era started after this, and we'll probably cover the Only era at some point.
Maybe.
And
part 3?
Yeah, part 3.
Oh.
Right? It's been an interesting ride for this one.
Totally.
Went places we never knew it would go.
I learned so much about a band that I thought I knew everything about. And
honestly, yeah, me too. I mean, I knew a lot of stuff about the Misfits, but then when I do these episodes, I hone in on just research, and I learn a lot more than I ever thought could be possible. So it was interesting. This era seemed very basic to me from an outside perspective. Seemed like, 2 albums, they're done. But it was way more complicated than I thought it was going to be.
Totally.
And hey, it's a lot of fun. Got some amazing songs that I'll probably never forget, and they're catchy as hell, and they're going to be stuck in my head forever.
Yep.
And when I want to stop, I'll be like, whoa, whoa,
whoa.
But, yeah, right? But that's going to wrap it up for this episode of Misfits. No, it's just called Misfits. Oh, I didn't tell you. So we record it as The Misfits, right?
Yeah.
Everything is called Misfits.
Stop. Is this one of those?
There is no the. There is no the.
Weird. It's one of those, the Nelson Mandela effect.
The Mandela?
Yeah, the Mandela effect.
Yeah. Because when I was titling the episode, I put The Misfits, Danzig era. And then I was I was staring and looking at the CD, and I was like,
Misfits.
Wait, Misfits?
Not.
And I looked at all the stuff, and I was like, no, it's just Misfits. It's just Misfits.
There's not ever been an album?
There's no the.
Never.
The only one that I've ever seen is Static Age. But I don't know what everything else just says Misfits.
That's probably why I think it's the Misfits, because that's the only one I have vinyl for.
It's crazy. I just had no idea that it was just Misfits. Yeah. Misfits. It's crazy.
Oh, wow. Huh. You just shattered my entire reality.
I know. I just pulled up the album covers.
I'm going to have to take a cold shower when I go home.
I just pulled up all the album covers just to show Cameron there is no the. It's just Misfits. Wow. So we listened to Misfits.
We listened to Misfits.
It sounds weird.
I don't like it.
It sounds weird.
I don't give a crap. Screw it.
Anyway.
We listened to The Misfits.
The Misfits. I just thought I would point that out right before the end of this episode. But yeah. Anyway, of course, you can listen to us anywhere you get podcasts. Spotify, which exists.
Yeah. Apple
Podcasts, whatever. It's on a whole bunch of things. I don't even know what a lot of them are on, but tons of them that I totally...
Do your own research. Find us.
I also usually post these to YouTube in some respect. So hope you've enjoyed this. You can leave iTunes reviews. You can make suggestions to us about what you want to hear on GothCast. Of course, we're always interested in what people have to say. Of course, I want you guys to go out there. And you know what I want you to do?
What do you want?
I want you to remain in a Halloween-like state.
Oh, so you mean you want us to stay spooky?
No, I say... You're supposed to say something else. Because I say you got to stay spooky.